100% Chelsea, Liverpool 2, Chelsea 0. Jay, Lewis raised the point of our performance against the top 12, let alone the top 6. We've got 4 points away from home. It's just not shaping up well, is it? And today, that just added to that record.
I mean, the little hope with run we've going on and trying to get back into the top 4, managed to somehow climb up to 3rd place. It ends today. I mean, we're relying on a miracle right now for anything to happen, and that is a miracle of Arsenal, Spurs and United slipping up in their remaining games, which, let me just be honest with you, it's not going to likely to happen. Arsenal have got a very fair run coming up with ahead of them. Spurs have only got Man City to play against. United, if they beat us, it's all done and dusted. But in my opinion, it's done and dusted already. And it's the fact that all it takes is moments for these things to happen. We started off the first half. Like I said, the team selection, in my opinion, wasn't the worst it could have been. And coming up against this Liverpool side, it probably was the best possible 11 we could have played, considering the amount of people who played 90 minutes, in Prague during the week, midweek, and just everything else that led towards this game. I don't know if, like I said, Klopp came out and said basically his tactics of how he was going to try and beat Chelsea, and I don't know if that was a double bluff, because we've seen the likes of against when we played United, we've had Herrera just man-mark Hazard out of the game, and we've struggled badly, and he basically admitted that was the way he was going to deploy. We then obviously tried to counter that by playing a false 9, and whether that worked to our strengths, I think it did, because it didn't mean that the likes of Henderson and Virgil van Dijk and Matt, they couldn't just stick to Hazard, because that would have left space for Willian and Hudson-Odoi to do their thing, which at some points they were actually able to do so, but it just wasn't enough today. It's disappointing that it took like 2-3 minutes for everything we did in the first half to be completely undone, because I think based on that first half performance, we could have actually maybe potentially got something out of that game, whether that was, a scrappy goal or at least getting a point, because a point at this stage of the season would have been huge. It would have been massive for us. But it's the same thing I've said after the the Everton game, is that Sarri's game management is poor. When we had the likes of Conte and Jose Mourinho, when we were in situations like that, you saw drastic changes, and these were changes that potentially sometimes actually lost us games and made us drop points. But these are the things you want to actually see from your manager, being proactive, actually doing something to try and get a result. Bringing on a striker is, I think my 7-year-old nephew would have done that. It's the case, if we're trying to score goals, we bring on a striker, okay, cool. But there's no change. We're still playing the same way we were playing in the first half, still playing the same way we played for the 50-something games we played this season. And it's just, I'm sorry, and let me put it this way, I am sorry, and I think that he still does need time, and I think another season, if we're still playing like this, then yeah, cool, get rid of him. But at this point, I think the best opportunity to do is stick with him. But it's so hard to stick behind a manager who just doesn't seem to get A, B and C right. It seems to just go from A to Z, back to W to Q to X. It's all over the place. Performance-wise, I do think Hudson-Odoi and Loftus-Cheek did crumble under pressure at some times. I think Loftus-Cheek had some brilliant moments, and that's what we've seen from him, a little burst of pace. But then it was just the times when his decision-making was off. That's the same with Hudson-Odoi, because that's probably been Hudson-Odoi's biggest strength, is that when he gets into those positions, in the 18-yard box, he seems to make the right choices, where today, unfortunately, he wasn't. And I think taking him off was probably the right thing to do. A lot of people were very surprised, but I honestly think that's probably the best thing we could have done in that situation. But I think, on the balance of play of everything that's happened this week and everything that's happened today, them getting the win was probably predicted and also very deserved. I think Salah, that goal was absolutely wonderful. Yeah. And I said way before the game, I said, he's going to score, it's going to happen. And he obviously delivered. And I'm not surprised. I'm honestly not surprised. If there was any game Salah was going to score in, it would have been today. But yeah, at this point, top 4 is completely out of our hands. Europa League is what we're going to be playing for now. But even at this point, I think a lot of other fans have said before this that we shouldn't even be playing Champions League football next season. We're in a very, very difficult transitional period. And this is a transitional period which clearly, if we're going to stick by Sarri, is going to take another full season. And Champions League is just going to put us in a position where we don't need to be in that, because we need to be focusing on much of the team, because we're going to have a shitload of players coming back over the summer from loans and etc. Wherever this transfer ban is probably going to happen, we need to do as much as we can to focus on what we have, and Champions League football, in my opinion, is a distraction, because we're not going to win it. Let me just be real. This isn't 2012 is not going to happen again. It's just a fact. It's not going to happen again. The teams that we're going to be coming up against are a lot better than what we came up against then. So I just think that we finish 6th. We start from again from the bottom, and we go from there. Because if we're going to carry on playing like this, with Hazard possibly leaving, I don't even want to know at this point. I just really don't want to know, man.